A very good day I bid to all of you. My name is Muhammad Farrish Daniel bin Khairil Anizam, and my matric number is SIG190012. We all want a harmonious life, a life where racism is eradicated and people are judged by what they do and not by the color of their skin. What happened to George Floyd in America was just the tip of the iceberg. Now the whole world has their eyes fixated at how racist America is. What about the racism that happens in Malaysia? Are we ready to have that conversation? We all know what it's like to be subjected to stereotypes that don't define us at all. For example, Indians are all gangsters. Chinese people only have money on their minds. And Malays are the laziest race to ever walk the earth. These stereotypes have been rooted into our minds by our parents, family members, friends, teachers, and even the media. Now, hypothetically, would it make sense if a Malay man had deep prejudice towards people of the Indian community if his wife was Indian and his children were half Indian? No, it wouldn't make sense at all. So today, I would like to persuade you to believe that interracial marriages are better than same-race marriages. The most significant reasons why you and I should both believe this is true is, firstly, interracial marriages will help to eradicate the root of racism. Secondly, it will help to produce individuals who can speak multiple languages. And thirdly, is that children who are born from interracial marriages are much more smarter, much more attractive, and much more resistant towards various diseases. Many of you believe that interracial marriages will only lead to discrimination from society. But many of you also fail to realize that the same discrimination that people face happens due to the negative stereotyping that eventually leads to racism. According to a study done by Nguyen Phong Mai, racism is an extension of stereotypes and prejudices. Human beings all belong to the same biological species, but racism remains a worldwide problem. Now, in the context of interracial relationships, these stereotypes about a certain community has convinced us that the only person that is perfect for us is someone from the same race as us. If discrimination is the reason why so many of you are against interracial marriages, then it is up to us to destroy these stereotypes. Some Chinese women do not want to get married with a Malay man because of the fact that he can take part in a polygamous marriage. But the truth is, only 5% of marriages in Malaysia are polygamous. And I quote this from Nurani Uthman, who is a sociologist at the National University of Malaysia. So if we were able to break these stereotypes, I am positive people will start to engage in interracial relationships and see their partner not because of their race, but all the wonderful qualities. As depressing and sad as it sounds, racial discrimination also comes from our friends and family. They were also raised believing the same stereotypes that eventually led to racism. Through your interracial relationship, they can see that all these negative stereotypes that they had were wrong. And before they make a racist remark, they might think, oh, my aunt is Indian, she's nothing like that. Or my cousin is Chinese and she's totally the opposite. If this was a common practice in Malaysia, I am positive racial discrimination will be put to a halt. Another reason why you might avoid interracial relationships is due to the difficulty in learning another language. But what if I told you the same difficulty is what makes you and your child special? If you and your spouse speak different languages in your interracial relationship, there are even more benefits. Bilingual children apparently have improved brain power. Now, according to a study done by Granada University, they compare the performance between bilingual and monolingual children in tasks requiring different levels of working memory. And you guessed it, bilingual children were faster, much more efficient, and more accurate in completing these tasks. Now, in Malaysia, everyone or every child can speak English and Malay because they are exposed to it at school. Chinese and Indians, however, have the upper hand because they can speak their respective mother tongues too. Now, imagine a hybrid of Chinese and Indians. Hypothetically, they should be able to speak 4 languages. Learning English and Malay at school and speaking Mandarin and Tamil at home. I do not have to remind you how important it is to learn another language because many big companies in Malaysia right now are searching for candidates who can speak Mandarin. Now, why do we think that learning a new language is such a hassle? Well, it might be because most of us have to sign up for a class and find a way to practice it. But when you marry a spouse of a different race, you automatically have a language teacher. Just by overhearing them converse with your kids or with their family members, you are able to pick up new words and pronunciations. And that's what gives you leverage compared to other vanilla people. Now, some of you might avoid interracial relationships because your kids will grow up with many problems. But the truth is, they are gifted with a lot of advantages. Now, I'm not going to deny that according to research, biracial kids do struggle with forming an identity, whether they are Black, white, Asian, or Latino. But other studies have shown that this is a geographical problem because there are biracial kids who do not have this problem. But what all research shows is that biracial kids are much more smarter, much more attractive, and are more resistant towards various diseases. Combining different genetic strengths leads to children who are going to be associated with attractiveness. To delve into the positive benefits of outbreeding, senior researcher Jim Wilson and his colleagues from the University of Edinburgh study the genetic diversity of genome data for 6 biomedical traits, ranging from height all the way to cognitive ability. And what they found is that height, lung capacity, cognitive ability, and educational attainment have all increased in diverse genetic populations. The genes of more genetically diverse populations show a higher percentage of heterozygosity, which means there are 2 different copies for each gene, duplicating the ability of them to facilitate or adapt to different environments, for example, climate change, and even the spread of new diseases. Professor Bill Amos from Cambridge University studies the interactions of human genetics, and he finds that individuals with greater genetic diversity can protect themselves from more parasites and more diseases, to such an extent that having low levels of diversity in Kenya will increase the likelihood of death before the age of 5. Terrifying, isn't it? So I hope I've convinced you to open your love life to people of different races. Remember, interracial marriages are the key to obliterate racism from its very existence, help you and your kids to reap the benefits of being a bilingual, and finally produce kids that are smart, attractive, and healthy. Imagine a society in which race never defined who you are and never made you feel indifferent. A place where you and your kids were not called racial slurs. And being Muslim didn't mean that you had to look like a Malay. As a biracial individual myself, these were all the things that I had to go through growing up. If you are already married, then I beg of you to not take this chance from your children. So remember, before you make yourself unavailable for people of a different race, ask yourself again, is your preference really worth the racism, discrimination, and prejudice that haunts our country? Thank you for your time.